Another away day defeat for the Boro at Portsmouth, and again it was very repetitive. We've seen it all before, unfortunately. Liverpool, where Boro collapsed under pressure in the closing minutes. This time they were put under pressure very early in the second half at Portsmouth and basically couldn't cope with it. Very, very worrying. Obviously you've got people like Jermaine Defoe running at you with pace, and it's going to be a problem anyway. He linked up well with Peter Crouch, and those two really ran the Boro defence ragged in the second half. Harry Redknapp did change their system at half-time. He'd played wing-backs in the first half, went to an orthodox 4-4-2 in the second half, but that wasn't really the reason for Boro capitulating. It was the fact that Portsmouth played with an extra spring in their step in the second half, and Boro just couldn't cope with it. The midfield in particular was very disappointing, capitulated completely, and this put the Boro defence under pressure. It wasn't good to watch, and it must be worrying because having gone away from home twice in a row and forged a 1-0 lead, it's the sort of thing in the Premier League where teams should be able to hold on, certainly on more than one occasion, and Boro just haven't been doing it, and we're looking at the whole of 2008 at the moment without a Boro win. Boro really have to get something from these games. One of them is the Man U Carling Cup tie, where they will hopefully be playing Manchester United's second team. But the Sunderland game is the more pressing matter, and he really has to look at it. Personnel-wise, he doesn't have a lot to play with, which again is another problem. But it's the way in which the team stop passing it under pressure that must cause him more problems than anything else. He'll obviously sit and look down at the match with his coaches, as they always do. They go right through the game, try to find out what went right, what went wrong. But they do have to come with quick answers. Whether he's got to change the team's playing style remains to be seen. Hopefully not, because with 4 attacking players in the side, it is a gamble, but you've got to give Southgate some sort of praise for playing with 2 wingers. Not every team in the Premier League does that. It does make a big difference when you're pushing forward if you do have the extra attacker. And with midfielders sitting, it can work, and Southgate's determined to try to make it work. Another problem that Southgate's got, of course, is that he's got a shortage of numbers, particularly in the centre of midfield. With 3 out of his 4 major central midfield players injured, he's got really some thinking to do. Didier Degarde, high hopes for him this season. He's a very talented player. I think he's a great new signing, but he didn't play for half of last season. He's come here nowhere near fit, and they've been working very hard to get him where they want him. He's not there yet, but of course now he's got a setback, and then he picked up a knee injury at Portsmouth. Still being assessed at the moment, but you would assume that he's a doubt for Saturday. Julio Arca is very close, but again he hasn't had much of a warm-up. Again he is doubtful for Saturday, and of course Mohamed Shawki definitely out with a hamstring. It's more likely than not that Southgate will only have Gary O'Neill available of his regular central midfielders, and that is a major problem, major headache for the manager. He does have options. Andrew Taylor came in for the last 20 minutes at Portsmouth, and while Andrew Taylor is, if going back over the years, a midfield player, he hasn't been playing there for a long time, and you could see why at Portsmouth. He looked more of a left back in midfield, which was a bit of a pity. I mean, I used to see him play regularly in the juniors and the reserves as a midfielder, and I thought that was where his career would lie. He was converted to left back and has settled in there very well. Whether he can come back into midfield and do the business in the short term, I'm not sure. He certainly looked a little bit rusty at Portsmouth, but it may be the manager's best option.